The red dust of Mars swirled outside the windows of Deep Space Monitoring Station 7. Inside, Officer James stared at his screen, rubbing his tired eyes. It was another quiet night shift, just like any other, until it wasn't. The alert came at exactly 3:27 a.m. Earth Standard Time. At first, it was just a small blip on the long-range scanners, barely noticeable among the usual asteroid signatures. But as James looked closer, his heart began to race. "Sir," he called out, his voice echoing through the quiet control room. "You need to see this." Station Commander Roberts walked over, his coffee mug still steaming. "What have you got?" "Energy signatures, sir. Massive ones, way beyond Pluto's orbit." James pointed to the readings that were growing stronger by the minute. "And they're not natural." Roberts leaned in, his eyes widening as he processed the data. Within minutes, the entire station was awake and analyzing the mysterious signals. The energy patterns were like nothing they had ever seen before, too organized to be natural, too complex to be human-made. 3 hours later, the Earth Defense Fleet's fastest ship, the Horizon, was preparing for emergency launch. Captain Thomas stood on the bridge, watching his crew run through final checks. He was a tall man with graying hair and steady hands that had guided ships through countless missions. But this one was different. This was the mission every space captain had dreamed of since humans first looked up at the stars. "All systems go, Captain," reported his first officer, Lisa. "We're ready for jump." Thomas nodded. "Take us out." The Horizon's engines roared to life, and the massive ship broke free from Earth's orbit. Their destination was nearly 6 billion kilometers away, but with the new fusion drives, they would make it in just under 48 hours. As they traveled, the energy signatures grew stronger. The ship's science team worked around the clock, analyzing the data. Whatever they were approaching was enormous, not just one large object, but hundreds of them, clustered together in the dark space beyond their solar system. "Captain," called out Technical Officer Marcus from his station, "I'm getting clearer readings now." "Sir, I think they're ships." The bridge fell silent. Thomas walked over to Marcus's station, studying the detailed scans now coming through. The officer was right. The signatures matched what you'd expect from spacecraft, but on a scale that made Earth's largest vessels look like toys. "How many?" Thomas asked quietly. Marcus swallowed hard. 300 at least, sir, maybe more." As the Horizon drew closer, they began receiving visual data. The ships were dark, showing no signs of power except for faint emergency beacons. They were beautiful in a strange way, their hulls covered in intricate patterns that seemed to flow like frozen rivers across their surface. "No response to any of our hails," Lisa reported, "and no sign of active systems. They're just drifting." Thomas made his decision. Send the first contact package on all frequencies. Then notify Earth. We're initiating emergency protocols. Back on Earth, the Security Council gathered in emergency session. The images from the Horizon played on massive screens as military leaders and politicians debated their next move. The alien fleet's presence so close to Earth could be seen as a threat, but their powered-down state suggested something else, a civilization in trouble. "They could be faking it," warned the American representative. "A trick to lower our defenses. Or they could be genuinely in need of help," countered his European colleague. "This could be our first chance to prove ourselves as a spacefaring civilization." The debate raged for hours, but in the end, humanity's better nature won out. The order was given. The Horizon was to approach the fleet and attempt to establish direct contact. As Captain Thomas prepared his boarding team, he looked out at the massive alien ships through the Horizon's viewport. In all his years of space travel, he'd never seen anything like them. Whatever they found over there would change human history forever. "Ready the shuttle," he ordered. "Let's go make some new friends." The story of humanity's greatest rescue mission was about to begin. The shuttle moved slowly through the darkness, its lights illuminating the massive hull of the alien flagship. Captain Thomas led the boarding team, each member wearing the latest model of spacesuit. Their boots made soft metallic sounds as they approached what looked like an airlock. "Remember," Thomas said through the radio, "we're here to help. Stay alert but non-threatening." He watched as Technical Officer Marcus studied the alien door controls with a handheld scanner. "Amazing," Marcus whispered. "Their technology. It's like nothing we've ever seen. But this panel here seems to be for emergency access." He pressed his gloved hand against a smooth section of the wall, and to everyone's surprise, the airlock began to cycle. The team waited nervously as their suits analyzed the air inside. "Breathable atmosphere," reported Dr. Wells, their medical officer. "Gravity too, though it's lighter than Earth's." They moved inside carefully, their helmet lights cutting through the darkness. The corridors were huge, clearly built for beings larger than humans. Emergency lights cast a faint purple glow every few meters, creating eerie shadows. "Look at these markings," Lisa said, pointing to the walls. "They're not just decoration. They look like living circuits." The patterns they had seen on the outside of the ship continued inside, but here they seemed to pulse weakly with remaining power. Marcus checked his readings again. "Main power is almost completely drained. These ships are running on emergency systems only." They found the bridge, or what they assumed was the bridge, after 20 minutes of careful exploration. The room was massive, with rows of strange-looking control stations, but what caught their attention were the containers along the walls, hundreds of them, each containing a large sleeping form. "Cryopods," Dr. Wells said, approaching one carefully. Through the frosted surface, they could make out the shape of the alien inside. It was roughly humanoid but much larger, with an iridescent exoskeleton and multiple limbs folded carefully against its body. "They're all in hibernation," she continued, studying her medical scanner. "Life signs are stable, but—" She paused, frowning at the readings. "The pods are losing power. Maybe a month of emergency power left, at most." Marcus had found what appeared to be the main computer terminal. "Captain, I think I can interface with their systems. Their computer language is complex, but it follows logical patterns we can understand." It took an hour of careful work, but finally Marcus managed to access the ship's logs. The story they found was both fascinating and heartbreaking. The aliens called themselves the Collective. They were a peaceful, highly advanced civilization that had achieved incredible technological progress, but their home star had begun to die centuries before expected. With their entire system facing destruction, they had converted every available resource into this fleet of ships, carrying their entire civilization. 2.3 million souls, in search of a new home. Why did they power down? Thomas wondered aloud. Marcus continued reading. Something about quantum field incompatibility. Their main drives use a form of quantum energy that doesn't work properly in our galaxy. They tried to adapt, but he shook his head. "The technical details are beyond me, but their ships basically stopped working." "Can we wake some of them?" Thomas asked Dr. Wells. She nodded slowly. "The pods have individual controls. We should be able to revive their leadership safely." Thomas made his decision. "Do it. Wake their senior staff, carefully, and get me a direct line to Earth. They need to know what we're dealing with." The team watched as Dr. Wells began the revival process on one of the marked pods. The frost slowly cleared from its surface, revealing the alien inside more clearly. As the pod opened with a soft hiss, the creature inside began to move. The first official contact between humanity and the Collective was about to begin, and with it, the real challenge of saving millions of lives hanging in the balance. The alien engineer towered over the humans, standing nearly 3 meters tall. Its iridescent shell caught the emergency lights as it moved, creating rainbow patterns across the ship's walls. The translator device worked hard to convert the clicking sounds it made into English. "Impossible," the alien said, examining the ship's engine room. Our quantum drives are far beyond your understanding. They are the product of 10,000 years of advancement. Captain Thomas watched as Technical Officer Marcus showed the alien their initial scans. They had woken up the collective's lead engineer, who had introduced itself as the Builder. Unlike humans with their individual names, the collective used titles to identify themselves. With respect, Marcus said carefully, "Your drives aren't broken. They're just incompatible with our region of space." He pulled up a holographic display showing complex quantum field measurements. "Your home galaxy has a different quantum signature than ours. It's like trying to run a diesel engine with gasoline." The Builder's large compound eyes studied the data. Its antennae twitched, a sign of distress. They had learned, if what you say is true, we are doomed. We cannot return, and we cannot move forward. Our people will die in the cold of space. Dr. Wells stepped forward with her own readings. "We have 28 days before your emergency power fails completely. After that, the cryopods will shut down." She didn't need to explain what that meant. Over 2 million lives would be lost. Back on Earth, the greatest scientific minds were working around the clock. Video conferences connected laboratories from every major nation. The collective's technology was incredibly advanced, but it was useless if it couldn't work in their galaxy. "What about our fusion reactors?" suggested a scientist from India. "They're not as advanced, but they work here. Could we adapt them?" The idea spread quickly. Humans might not have quantum drive technology, but they knew how to split atoms and harness the power of stars. It wasn't elegant, but it might work. The Builder initially dismissed the idea. "Your fusion technology is primitive. It could never generate enough power to run our systems." But as the emergency power levels dropped another percentage point, its resistance began to weaken. "We don't need to power everything," Marcus explained. "Just life support and basic systems. Think of it as a temporary solution until we can solve the quantum drive problem." Commander Baker, coordinating the global response from Earth, organized the world's factories. "We can have the first test reactor ready in 3 days," she reported via video link. "But building enough for all 300 ships." She shook her head. "That's going to take everything we've got." The Builder watched as humans swarmed over one of the smaller ships, installing measuring devices and power cables. Its antennae moved constantly now, showing its anxiety. "You truly believe you can save us with such basic technology?" "Basic doesn't mean bad," Thomas replied. "Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones. We may not have quantum drives, but we've gotten pretty good at keeping things running with what we have." A message from Luna Base interrupted them. They had successfully recreated the collective's power requirements in their test lab. It wasn't pretty. The setup used 30% more energy than it should have, but it worked. 27 days left, Dr. Wells reminded everyone. And that's assuming nothing goes wrong. The Builder finally made its decision. "Very well. We will try your fusion reactors. But know this, if you fail, if our people die, you will bear the responsibility for the end of our civilization." Thomas looked at the massive alien ships stretching out into space. Humanity had never faced a challenge like this before. But that's what humans were good at, solving problems, finding ways to make the impossible possible. "We won't fail," he said simply. "Now, let's get to work." The race to save over 2 million lives had begun, and the clock was ticking. The first test didn't go well. The human-made fusion reactor sparked and smoked as it tried to power the alien ship's systems. Marcus wiped sweat from his forehead as he studied the readings. "Too much power in the wrong places," he muttered. "We're trying to fill a swimming pool with a fire hose." The Builder watched from nearby, its large form casting shadows in the engine room. "I told you this wouldn't work. Our systems are too advanced for your primitive technology." But Captain Thomas noticed something interesting. "Look there." He pointed to a section that was working perfectly. "That part's running just fine." "Why?" Marcus zoomed in on the readings. That's the life support system. It's simpler than the rest. More mechanical. His eyes lit up with understanding. We've been going about this all wrong. He turned to the builder. Your technology is like a complex computer network. Ours is like water flowing through pipes. We need to add something in between. A converter. The builder's antennae moved thoughtfully, like a translation device between two languages. Exactly. Marcus grabbed his tablet and started sketching. We don't need to power your systems directly. We need to make our power speak your language. The next 12 hours were a blur of activity. Engineers from Earth, Mars, and Luna base joined in through video calls. The builder, beginning to understand the human way of solving problems, offered insights into how their systems processed energy. In the testing bay of the small alien ship, they'd built something new. It wasn't pretty. A mix of human fusion technology and alien power conduits, held together with materials from both civilizations. The builder called it an abomination. Marcus called it beautiful. Ready for test 2, Marcus announced. The room fell silent as he activated the hybrid power system. The lights flickered. There was a low hum. Then, slowly, the alien ship's systems began to come online. Not all of them, just life support, basic gravity, and essential functions, but it was working. Power flow is stable, Marcus reported, grinning. Temperature normal. No overloads. The builder moved quickly to a control panel, its long fingers dancing over the alien interface. This is surprising. The energy signature is crude, but it's compatible with our systems. How did you know this would work? Thomas smiled. We didn't, but that's how humans solve problems. We try things. We fail. We learn from the failure. Then we try something new. News of the success spread quickly through both human and alien channels. Commander Baker immediately started organizing global production. We'll need every factory on Earth, Mars, and Luna working round the clock, she said through the video link. But now we know it's possible. The builder seemed to be seeing the humans in a new light. Perhaps, it said slowly, we have been too quick to dismiss your methods as primitive. They are different, yes, but effective. 24 days remained before the emergency power would fail. The first full-sized reactor converter would take 3 days to build. They needed 300 of them. It's going to be close, Dr. Wells said, checking her calculations. Even with every factory helping, we'll be working until the last minute. Thomas looked at his team, then at the builder. Then we'd better not waste any more time. Builder, we'll need your help to train our installation teams. Every minute counts now. The alien engineer straightened to its full height. You have shown us a new way of thinking. We will help however we can. As the teams began preparing for mass production, Thomas caught Marcus staring at their jerry-rigged creation. Not bad for primitive technology, bah. Marcus laughed. Just wait until they see what we can do when we really get creative. The impossible task now seemed possible. Humanity had found a way, just as it always did. But the hardest part was still to come. They had to build and install 300 reactor converters before time ran out. The Luna shipyards had never been busier. Hundreds of workers in spacesuits moved between the massive construction base, each one building reactor converters for the alien fleet. The Earth glowed blue and white in the black sky above them, a constant reminder of what they were fighting to protect. Reactor 47 is ready for testing, a tired voice announced over the radio. They had been working nonstop for 5 days now. 18 days remained until the alien fleet's power would fail completely. Inside the main control room, Marcus watched the test readings with the builder at his side. The alien engineer had not slept in days. Their species apparently needed less rest than humans. Power curve is wrong, the builder said, pointing at the display. Like the others. Marcus frowned. They had successfully installed 30 reactors so far, but the last batch was showing problems. The power output wasn't stable. Something's changed. But what? Commander Baker's face appeared on the main screen. We're seeing the same issues in the Earth factories. Power fluctuations in all reactors built in the last 12 hours. Thomas joined them, carrying 3 cups of coffee. He handed one to Marcus and set the builder's special nutrient drink on the console. Could it be the materials? We're mining and processing them awfully fast. The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Wells burst into the control room, waving her tablet. "It's the radiation," she exclaimed. "The alien ships, their hulls are slightly radioactive. Not dangerous to us, but it's affecting the new reactor cores." The builder's antennae shot up. "Of course. Our hull material naturally absorbs and processes radiation. It's part of our defense system. Your power cores are being poisoned by your ships," Marcus finished. "The first batch worked because they were tested away from the fleet. But now that we're building them closer, they had to start over. 40 reactors scrapped. 5 precious days lost." "We need to shield the cores," Thomas said. "Builder, can you help us modify the designs?" The alien engineer was already working at a console, its long fingers flying over the controls. "We can adapt the shielding technology from our cryopods. It's simpler than our hull technology." News of the setback spread quickly through the human colonies. But instead of discouragement, it sparked a wave of determination. Volunteer workers poured in from every settlement on Mars and Luna. Earth's factories ran day and night. In space station workshops, humans and awakened collective engineers worked side by side, racing to modify the reactor designs. The builder had woken more of its technical staff to help, each one marveling at how the humans refused to give up. 13 days left, Dr. Wells announced during the daily briefing. "We've got 70 good reactors installed. Need 230 more." Thomas looked at his team's tired faces. "We're not going to make it at this rate." "Yes, we will," Marcus said firmly. He pointed to a new set of readings. "Look, the Mars factories have found a way to speed up production. They're building the cores and shielding separately, then assembling them in space. Cuts production time by 30%. The builder made a sound they had learned was approval. "Your people continue to surprise us. When we first met, I thought your technology was primitive. Now I see that your true strength lies not in your machines, but in your ability to adapt and overcome." A cheer went up from the Luna control room. Another successful installation. On Earth, Commander Baker reported that the first factories had switched to the new production method. Mining ships brought in fresh materials from the asteroid belt. 229 to go, Thomas said, checking the count. "Every reactor we install gives life support to thousands of the collective." Marcus nodded, already turning back to his work. "Then we better not waste any more time talking about it." The next hours would be crucial. They had found a solution, but time was their enemy now. The fate of millions still hung in the balance, and the clock kept ticking. 8 days remained, and the exhausted teams had installed 200 reactors. 100 more to go. But now they faced their biggest challenge yet, the largest ships in the collective fleet. "The power requirements are much higher than we calculated," Marcus said, staring at the readings from the flagship's systems. Dark circles showed under his eyes from lack of sleep. "Our current reactor design won't be enough." The builder stood nearby, its normally shiny shell looking dull from stress. "These are our city ships. Each one holds over 50,000 of our people. They need more power just to maintain basic life support." Thomas looked out the window at the massive vessel. It was nearly twice the size of the others, with delicate spires rising from its hull like a floating city. Which, he realized, was exactly what it was. What if, he started slowly, what if we combined our technologies in a new way? The builder's antennae perked up. "Explain." "Your quantum systems still work in small bursts, right? They just can't sustain long-term power." Thomas turned to Marcus. "Could we use our reactors to power their quantum generators, then use those to amplify the total output?" Marcus's tired eyes widened. He grabbed his tablet and started calculating. "Like using our power to jumpstart their systems. Yes, yes. The quantum field problem doesn't matter if we're only running them for microseconds at a time. The next 12 hours were a blur of activity. Engineers from both species worked together, combining human fusion technology with alien quantum systems in ways neither civilization had tried before. The builder brought in more of its technical staff, and soon the workstations were crowded with humans and aliens working side by side. Ready for first test, Marcus announced. Everyone held their breath as they activated the new hybrid system. The massive city ship's systems hummed to life. Power readings climbed steadily, then stabilized at exactly the level they needed. The builder's entire body seemed to glow with excitement. "Remarkable," it exclaimed. "The power output is 40% higher than our original systems, even when they were working properly." News of the breakthrough spread quickly through both fleets. The new hybrid power system wasn't just a temporary fix. It was better than either species' original technology. Commander Baker immediately ordered all remaining reactor production to switch to the new design. 7 days left, Dr. Wells reported. But now we can power multiple ships with each new reactor. We might actually make it. The pace of work increased even more. On Earth, factories that had been working on regular reactors quickly retooled for the new design. The collective engineers, now fully invested in the project, shared more of their knowledge to help speed up production. "Look at this," Marcus said to Thomas, showing him a new set of readings. "The quantum feedback from their systems is actually making our fusion reactions more efficient. We're learning things about fusion power that we never knew before." The builder had gathered a group of its engineers to study the human production methods. "Your ways are unusual," it admitted, "but there is wisdom in them. You build simply, but leave room for improvement. We build for perfection, but leave no room for change." With 6 days remaining, they installed the last reactor on the final city ship. As its systems came online, cheers erupted throughout both fleets. They had done it, found a way to combine the best of both civilizations to create something new. "Power levels stable across all ships," Marcus reported, grinning. "Life support systems functioning at optimal levels. We did it." Thomas looked at his team, human and alien alike. They were tired, dirty, and completely happy. "No," he said. "We did it together." The builder's shell had regained its shine. "Perhaps," it said thoughtfully, "this is the beginning of something much bigger than just saving our fleet." They had not only saved over 2 million lives, they had forged a partnership that would change both civilizations forever. 1 month after the first contact, the Great Hall of the United Nations was packed with both humans and members of the collective. The builder stood at the podium, its shell gleaming under the lights, addressing the assembled delegates. "When our fleet first arrived in your solar system," it began, "we thought we had reached the end of our journey in failure. Instead, we found something far more valuable than just a new home. We found true allies." In the audience, Captain Thomas sat with his team. Marcus was actually wearing a proper uniform for once, though he still had his tablet with him. Dr. Wells sat nearby, taking notes on collective biology. They had shared their medical database as a gift to humanity. "The hybrid power systems you helped us create," the builder continued, "are more efficient than anything either of our civilizations had before. This is just the beginning of what we can achieve together." Commander Baker, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, stepped up to the podium next. "Today, we formally announce the establishment of the first collective settlement in the Sol system. The orbit of Mars has been chosen as their new home, and construction will begin immediately." The announcement was met with thunderous applause. On screens worldwide, humans watched as the first collective city ship moved into its new orbit around Mars. Its spires now glowed with steady power, no longer dependent on emergency systems. "Did you ever think this would be the outcome when we first found them?" Thomas asked Marcus quietly. Marcus shook his head, smiling. "I was just hoping we could keep their life support running. This," he gestured at the hall full of 2 species working together, "this is beyond anything I imagined." The collective's leader, finally awakened from cryo-sleep, approached the podium. Its shell patterns shifted in colors that they now knew represented deep emotion. "Our people have traveled far," it said through the translator. "We have lost our original home, but we have gained a new family. The humans have shown us that true advancement comes not from technology alone, but from the willingness to adapt, to learn, and to help others." In the weeks that followed, the changes came quickly. Collective engineers helped upgrade Earth's power grid with the new hybrid reactors. Human engineers learned to work with quantum technology, opening new possibilities for space travel. The first joint human collective research center opened on Luna, dedicated to combining the best of both civilizations' knowledge. "Look at this," Dr. Wells said one evening, showing Thomas her tablet. The first human collective medical procedures had been successful, combining alien biotechnology with human surgical techniques. Diseases that had once been incurable were now treatable. The builder, now the head of Joint Technological Development, had become a regular sight at the Mars Command Center. "Your people continue to surprise us," it told Thomas. "You take our most complex systems and find ways to make them simpler, more efficient. We had forgotten the value of such thinking." Thomas watched through the window as a group of human children toured one of the collective ships, guided by an alien engineer. The children showed no fear, only curiosity and excitement. The future would belong to them, a future where humanity was no longer alone in the universe. "You know what the best part is?" Marcus said, joining him at the window. "We didn't just save them. We proved something important about humanity." "What's that?" Thomas asked. "That when things look impossible, when the challenge seems too big, that's when we're at our best. Not because we're stronger or smarter, but because we never stop trying." The builder made a sound they now recognized as laughter. "Perhaps that is why our civilizations work so well together. We bring the knowledge of ages, and you bring the spirit to use it in new ways." As the sun set on Mars, casting long shadows across the new collective settlement, Thomas thought about the journey that had brought them here. What had started as a rescue mission had become something much more. The beginning of humanity's greatest adventure. The story would be told for generations to come, of how humanity's first contact with alien life had led not to war or fear, but to friendship and progress. It was a new chapter in human history, and it was only the beginning.